bringing you the best Eagles basketball coverage. This is Creature Report.
All right, and welcome into the Screecher Report podcast, post-game podcast. FGCU defeats FIU, always giving us trouble. Elliott, you watched on the stream, the live stream. I was there in person. What are your thoughts on the game?
Live stream was subpar. There was no box score or game clock, so I continually had to rely on your tweets for information, and I'm forever thankful for that. So.
Yeah, I hope they were just perfect, exactly what you needed.
They were other than for you calling stuff, which I had to rightfully call out and negate. So, yeah, thanks for that and spreading your game updates to the world. And game thoughts. We finally beat FIU, so thank the Lord. Not only did we finally beat them, we looked pretty good while doing it. You know, the first half was back and forth, momentum swings. It was pretty evenly matched, I'd say, and then FGCU kicked it into second gear or third gear or fourth gear, whatever the best gear is, in the second half, and it only ended up being kind of a close score because of some, full court pressure in the last minute and a half and some kind of BS fouls, a couple turnovers, and got it to a 9-point game. But what were your initial thoughts?
No, I'm right there with you, man. It was my I guess final thoughts and initial thoughts as far as the game goes is we looked like the better team by a lot, honestly, for the whole game. We didn't beat them by double digits. We didn't beat them by 20 or anything. Ended up beating them by 9. It was, double digit, almost a 15-point game at one point late, and that's kind of how it felt it should have been. Like you said, the press at the end, and the Eagles let it, get away from them just a little bit there. Some calls were weird. Some just mistakes were happening. But that kind of brings me to a point, though, is so this was kind of a high turnover night, as from what we've seen the past few weeks. And there was 15. I mean, we've been covering this team. This is year 4 now. So it's been 3 full years. And a bad turnover night in the last few years has been 23 turnovers, something insane, like literally 20 turnovers. And today it was like, oh, we let it get sloppy every now and then, and it equated to 15, and that was bad, So I think that's just kind of goes back to another positive sign, even in the negative. But yeah, initial thoughts for the game outside of that, I think Dakota Rivers looked really good early. He had a quiet second half. I think Zach Anderson has been looking awesome. Him and Catto were kind of the guys tonight. And I'll just be straight up right now. I love this team, man. I love the dudes on the team. I love how deep it is. I love how it could be anyone on any given night. Yeah, I'm just excited. 7-2.
For sure, man. The team is very fun to watch, and a lot of that is the turnovers, the reduction we've had this year compared to last. When the team is firing all cylinders, it's beautiful basketball, and it's, every player seems to really be kind of all in no matter what their role is that night, and that's just really refreshing to see and really energizes not only the team, but like the fans too. And yeah, like you said, Rivers had a pretty solid game, all things considered. 3 blocks, only played 19 minutes. Zach Anderson, like you said, he's got to be the most improved player at this point on the team from last year. And like Coach Chambers said in the post-game, not presser, but like the little interview on the court, he can still get a lot better. He's a junior, so it'll be crazy to see, how the growth progresses this year, what, next year brings, God willing. And, the difference in this game was the 3-pointers, I think. And then obviously some defense, but we hit 37%. They hit only 18%. Like I said, and I agree with you that we were the better team, but in the first half, they played us pretty evenly. So all around, just like we won both halves, and it was a good game to watch.
Yeah, another kind of one of my points from that in the first half, I did tweet about this at the time, but if you had told me before the game that we were going to go into halftime winning and Chase Johnston and Isaiah Thompson, two of our leading scorers, would have a combined 3 points, I would have not taken that bet. But that's it. It was just one. I think Isaiah Thompson 3 and going into the half, Johnston had a goose egg. Now he lit it up in the second half. Caught fire, finished with 11, was third on the team in points. Isaiah hit a couple shots too in the second half, looked better, but for the most part, I mean, how crazy is that? Just speaking on the depth of this team, where again, those two, I'm pretty sure those are our leading scorers. I'm not looking at stats, in full right now, but Isaiah Thompson and Chase Johnston combined for 18 points tonight. Well, Zach Anderson had 18 of his own. Caleb Catto had 14. Demir Bishop had 9. It was just a lot of guys contributing. Everyone who played scored. So that's pretty cool right there. I just like I said before, I love this team. I love how deep it is, and that's a big reason. Just how many guys there are who could start, right? I feel like with the exception of maybe the like 5 spot right now, just because we're thin with Andre Weir being out. With the exception of the 5 spot, I feel like we could lose several guys. Again, I don't want this to happen, but if several guys were to, get lost to injury or something for however long of a time, I still feel like this team is talented and even, deep even in that case.
Yeah, man, I fully agree with you. Like we've had a couple players banged out that haven't even been present recently, namely Cyrus Largy. I think he's been out for the max of 3, but definitely 2 games now. And recently, Andre Weir, who's wearing a boot, which sucks to see because he's had a great improvement too. He's kind of right on the cusp too of most improved player up until his injury. So, and I'm not saying we didn't notice them, but we still had a great core of guys on the team, and they weren't playing. So, like you said, just everyone's ready to go and ready to step up. I mean, even Franco Miller Jr., he hasn't had a hot start this year, but this game he was hitting shots. I think he ended up with 7 or so points. So it's just good to see the guys step up and fill in when needed. And like you said, the team looks solid.
For sure, and I'm glad you mentioned Franco. I was going to do that if you didn't. Like, he had a really good game, and not just like you don't have to look at the box score to just look at how good of a game he had. But if you want to, right, the 7 points, those 5 rebounds, he had 3 back-to-back-to-back on one series, and all defensive, like just running down the court, playing good defense, being in the right spot at the right time. And he was just playing aggressive. He was driving to the hoop and passing it out, driving to the hoop and getting fouled. He had a really good game, and that's a guy who, he's not your starter. He's just a good bulldog off the bench when Isaiah Thompson is not playing point. And that's cool. And another kind of thing to mention, I don't know if he's dealing with something, but Austin Ritchie didn't even play. He hasn't played much this year. And, speaking of the depth we've been talking about, that's a guy who, he could start, and I'm just excited.
Yeah. And one more thing to mention, because we haven't talked about him a lot this year yet. And, this was one of his probably better games this year, is Catto. It's awesome to see his leadership, even when he had 3 points a game or, 4 points or whatever. His leadership has always been there. His vision, the vision's there. Like he's always been there and provided such a senior presence on the team. And tonight finally ended up with 14 points, 5 boards, 4 steals. I mean, that's a solid game from your veteran. So it's just fun to see that.
We had 5 assists and 4 boards. But yeah, no, you're 100% right. He's been like, just whatever you need me to do, boss, is who Catto is. And it's good to see him do well coming back for his 5th year. And, he doesn't need to be the guy scoring 20 a game, but he can get you 14. And in this game in particular, Obviously, his defense was awesome. He got a bunch of steals, just that I can remember, just kind of flashing through my mind right now. And on top of that, he's the guy who really broke the seal for us being able to shoot threes, because it was neither team had made a three for like most of the first half. And then, somebody on their team hit a three, and then Catto was the one to break it for us. He hit three of them in the first half, I want to say, if not, it was more spread out than that, but he hit a few back to back, I feel like.
For sure, man. All around, good game. Looking ahead now, we play FAU on Wednesday. FAU is 7-1. Yep, on the road. FAU is 7-1, 4-0 at home, and we are 7-2, 2-2 away. Looking at ESPN, I know you don't trust ESPN, neither do I, but they predict FAU is 73% favorite against 27% us. Real quickly, and then I'll let you comment. FAU has wins against Florida, like the Gators. South Alabama, where our buddy Kevin Samuels ended up. They beat Eastern Michigan and a few other solid players, including Bryant, who was a Cinderella last year in the tournament. So what do we think about FAU, man? They beat an SEC team in the Gators. We beat USC in the season opener, and FAU is always kind of a thorn in our side. They're 4-0 at home. Who's winning it?
So initially my thoughts are, in a normal year, in years past, all through the Dooley era, all through the Fly era, I always felt like we were going to win one of those and we were going to lose one of those. And when I'm talking about FAU, FIU, didn't matter how good either of them was. That's just how the cookie crumbled. This year, I'm right back on my post USC win high, where I just think we're going to win every single game. So I don't care if they beat Florida, Duke, North Carolina, or Ave Maria. We're going to beat FAU. That's just where my head's at right now. But when I scale back a bit, it sounds like they're a good team and a good year for them, and it sounds like we're a good team and a good year for us. So it should be close. It should be fun. It should be intriguing. Florida's not the best high major team this year. It seems like they did, knock Stetson off quite well today, earlier today. But they're not the best team. So I do think we're gonna come out on top, but I think it should be a good game.
Yep, I agree. Regardless, it'll be a good game regardless. Real quick, last bit of nerd stuff before we close it up. FGCU is averaging 74 points a game. FAU is 77. We're pretty close there. Points allowed, we're at 64. They're at 63. Field goal percentage. FAU is at 47, and we're at 43. Rebounds, they win 40-38. Assists 16-13. So they're kind of like one up in each category. Whether or not that matters, I don't know, but it's something to consider.
Well, that right there is why ESPN has them favored, because they're just a little bit, better in those categories. They've played a comparable schedule to us. So one thing I just want to add before, then I can wrap things up, is I didn't know this at the time, but I'm pretty sure FIU has been averaging like 80 points a game, and we held them to under 60 tonight. So I think the defense has been playing really well. If I was a betting man, I would bet I'd bet the under on FGCU versus FAU. I don't think they score their season average. We've been holding people to a pretty good average, and it's going to be a good one. But like you said, we can wrap this up. Wings up, go Eagles, and let's get this dub.
Go Eagles.